Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. Today is Thursday, so we are hitting the VSTEG in the news and some of the stuff going on. I want to ask him about some of the solar flare stuff that we heard about this morning on WBRT. If you didn't watch that episode, make sure you watch that. I am sharing some really interesting information. And we'll talk about that right after this with Skullcap SaVant. Give us a like and share the video. Hi there. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I was bedridden for Thanksgiving.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, you might be able to still hear a little tinge of it in my throat. I was down for the count. I had some sinus adjusting that was going on, and
terrible.
Whatever. I needed the time off to do it anyway, right? To get a little bit better.
Good timing. I hear my husband said they would let guys off like Thursday and Friday. In the car business, you never get the day off ever. Yeah, you will stay and work till midnight if need be. They're some of like really hardworking people. Some of them, most of them.
I've got new respect for it. I mean, doing it now. So it is though. Yeah, the compromise that you seem to have to make in the business these days too is more than probably in the past because the money's just not there for you to. I mean, you got to work your ass off just to get sales, and then there's the dealerships losing money on cars right now. They're relying on the manufacturer incentives to make up for it. Like they call it fugazi money, because you got aged inventory, and it's all across the country. Everybody's got aged inventory, and when even the best financing offers can't sell them, eventually you got to get them out of there. But the dealership can't be sitting there losing $200,000 in operating profit every month. They'll go out of business. So they can't. There's only a certain amount that they can lower it. Customers think incorrectly that there's an unlimited amount of money that they can discount it until it sells. It'll, it's a free market. It'll fall to any price that it'll sell. Like, no, there are flooring costs. There are things that, unless you have a little bit of restraint as the dealership, you can only do so much. So now manufacturers starting to come in and say, look, just get it gone. We'll reimburse you 10 grand kind of a thing. So it gives you an extra
which that's the flip of what happened during the Great Infection. They were marking stuff up because they knew there was a shortage. And so now it's coming back to haunt them.
Yeah. And it's a combination of things, right? I mean, Bix talks about this shit, like just with silver supply and stuff. Like they're adding more and more technology to the cars, and the modules are getting more complex. And you wonder where the manufacturing costs actually going to go. There's where the equilibrium of actually making new cars should be. I wonder about this myself, because if we start getting hikes even further than we see now with the precious metals, palladium and silver are big with cars, and platinum too. The catalytic converter, you got a lot of palladium and platinum.
Interesting.
But by the way, is my mic better today?
Yeah,
I think I set the better one up.
I should have said the other day. I just, it was fun.
Yeah. But so it's precarious. Like the whole harbinger of where the subprime collapse is going to happen. I think we're already starting to see that with a lot of the lenders in the car space that were not banks. They're giving out loans with no collateral backing, unsecured car loans, because there's no social security number attached to it even, and it's a mess. We don't need to talk all night about the car business, but
no. But there's a couple things with I did want to bring up. There was a tweet that said how many people were dropping. I wanted to pull up the percentages if I could. Well, and you know, Trump had his meeting, and then they're talking about now like having alternatives because they're deregulating basically the auto industry, or lessening the regulations.
Well, that was part of the problem. It was part of the problem was the EPA standards. It's part of the climate change agenda. People want to know why, like, so before COVID even, Lisa, here are a couple of weird statistics for people to consider that, you know, have to do with everything. And they're just showing up in cars. But before COVID in 2019, your average car price was like $30,000 for a brand new car. It's up to 50 now. It's only, I mean, it's 6 years later, it's up to 50. So $20,000 of inflation for your average car price. And then what you get with that is you get an average vehicle age on the road in 2019, which was like 8.9 years, 8.8, 8.9 years. That's how old the average car was on the road, was that. 6 years later, the average age is 14.9 years.
Wow.
The problem is people are keeping their cars longer, and when they have to replace their car, they have to go buy a cheaper used car, and so the age of the vehicle on the road is just hiking because the affordability to go buy a $50,000 average new car.
No, my first home was $75,000.
That's what people keep saying. Yeah, that's the number.
3-bedroom, 2-bath in a suburban neighborhood of Oklahoma City that had great schools. You know, 75 grand. Now a truck I want to go buy for my business is over 100 grand. And by the time you end up paying the interest on it, you've paid another half of the vehicle to 150 grand. Freaking ridiculous. It's so crazy.
Your average car payment's just south of $900 now. It's like $800 something.
I can't imagine.
Well, and that's the average, you know, that's for just because the average vehicle price is 50 grand and interest rates are twice what they were in the 90s.
But that's why so many people are walking away from there, which that's in Cliff High's data, is that people would be turning in their keys and just walking away from.
I can actually how do you say? I can call Cliff High data hit here on that already.
Yeah.
For his web bot hit, right? So we've had people come in and experience this when they've come into the dealership where they're trying to trade in their car. And this is happening a lot with like the native population. We're, you know, in the part of the country here in the Southwest where a lot of native Indian reservations and stuff nearby. And so they've got some benefit. Like when they buy a car, they don't have to pay any tax if they can prove they bring their blood card to prove their, you know, their native mixture. So they buy cars a lot, but lately they've been coming in, and a lot of them, you know, credit scores never had them really. So they try to afford nicer cars, and they're coming back with trades for us to evaluate. And there's no
and they're upside down in it.
Well, that's a matter of perspective, because here's what's happening. You look at it, they're unsecured loans completely. They're one of these, come to the dealership, we'll underwrite it, and they're actually under no obligation to pay the loan because there's no structure to it. There's no loan. There's no originated money other than like the promissory note system that the dealership that they bought the car from, these, you know, these used lots and stuff, are writing up kind of drafts for, oh, you owe us this money. And there's a way that they're arbitraging that system to make money, kind of like in the cash advance way, where huge interest rates. These dealerships will originate these promissory systems with really large interest rates to take advantage of people that they think they can trick into paying them. And then they pay the large interest rate with the consequence of losing the vehicle if they actually ever default. But then the lot really doesn't even care because they already made their money back and all the interest that they charged, and they don't even send repo agents to collect them a lot of the time. They just let it ride. So what we've been telling people is we can't with this situation. It happens every so often, and we can't take the car on trade because there's no title transfer to anywhere. It's like this car in limbo in no man's land. And so literally what they have to do, we'll still sell them a car legitimately from our dealership, but since we can't take it on trade, we just tell them they've got to take the car back, drop the keys off in the drop box, and take it back to the lot that they found it, and really just abandon it
because it's away from it.
It's the problem. Yeah, it's the problem of the dealership anyway. It always was. And so, yeah, so that's happening. Yeah, I don't know how widespread, but I can attest that that's actually happening out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and so there's credit card that people are defaulting on. I can't find the tweets and the exact percentages. I apologize, but I'll post it in Telegram once I do. And there's a link to Telegram below. It's free. Jump on. But they, so they're defaulting on credit cards was the largest percentage. Yeah. Auto loans, they weren't seeing home loans as much just yet, but definitely the credit cards and the auto loans, people just walking away from it. So pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the foregone conclusion we've all been waiting for, but here it is.
It's a real thing. Wow.
So, did you have something about watching out for hornets? I saw in the description of this.
Well, we were going to talk about that next. That's kind of where we left off. Was we were going to go into the hornet thing and
yellow jackets.
Sorry.
Okay. I was wondering if that might be what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with, again, like a preamble to getting into this. Today we're going to get into this multiverse comic, guys. This V-Steg ridden multiverse comic. And as the primer so far, every time we get into V-Steg, it's again, my attestation to what V-Steg is that I found is this codification of ideology that's locked into popular media with the signifier of the V as kind of literally kind of a signet to lock in these memes that are surrounding the mind control aspects of all of these storytelling apparatuses of the Wizard of Oz. And the Wizard of Oz being an extension of psychological subversion and mind control itself, kind of like a this twisted children's way of disclosing what mind control actually is what Oz is. And by virtue of it being in our popular media, showing underneath it all what the mechanisms of the mind control is about, what the motives are. And we can help by I think decoding through the comics, understanding why it's placed in the specific ways and the stories that it is, try and get an understanding of what aspects of the entire culture are being pulled at the strings. So anytime you see the V, I've shared this on my channel for many, many years. I keep, if you ever want to go see the history of this, that was always the theory at the core of it. There are other things at play here cosmically, planets, aliens, the grid, the ley line network of the Earth itself, the rituals that take place with key points on the ley lines where stadiums and cathedrals and things like that are capturing the minds of the people participating in what's going on in those key locations. There's a lot of other stuff going on here. And all we do here when we get into stuff like this is I'm pointing out things for people to consider such that they see why they're in a haze these days. Because if anybody's paying attention to what Cliff is talking about these days with manifestation, to do it correctly, I mean, this is the stuff he's referencing, right? You've heard him reference Neville Goddard, right, Lisa, lately when you've been listening to Cliff stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Neville Goddard's this guy that interpreted scriptures in a way in which Jesus was actually extolling virtues onto us to, create our own realities in concert with God. There are blockages to being able to do that well. And even Jesus talked about that. He talks about the evils and the demons, and modern day pastors in church settings don't do a very good job, in my opinion, of really defragging what aspects that you actually are fighting in your mind against that might prevent you from doing this well. And so to me, that's why understanding what the V-Steg is so important, kind of as a resetting of why you might want to pay attention to this stuff.
To see the signs they're playing with the tool. Yeah.
Beyond just the novelty of like, wow, look at that, because that's kind of, it can get down that aspect of, just like, wow, what a coincidence. And that the coincidence itself is so shocking that, the real reason to look into it is kind of forgotten about. But one of the reasons why this multiversity is what this one's called.
Yeah.
Multiversity is something with the V in the middle of the main sigil and the M, which is another glyph that we can go into at some point, but it's essentially a V with two pillars on each side, right? So the M is related to the V, just like.
Well, they're also what's above is below.
Yes. And this is a very Masonic concept, very hermetic, which is borrowed from, and the two pillars of Joaquin and Boaz.
Mm-hmm.
With the crescent moon on the top here that they've put here. Here's the representation of the multiverse, as I'm going to get into. But this is a fiction that was fashioned. Here's the comic itself. I just took the dust cover off. But this is a fiction that was fashioned in the mid 2010s, right around the time that Donald Trump was running for president for the first time and Pizzagate was coming out. And so that's the time and the setting by which this comic is getting inserted for the first time into the popular culture.
So when that storyline was being placed in consciousness kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And the premise of this is you can see like, oh, there's a black Superman and who the hell are all these other characters? You see this white rabbit character.
Oh, the rabbit.
Why is Batman in this mecha suit? You're like looking around the cover. You're like, what the hell is this? Well, the concept of this whole story is that there's a collision. There's a time collision, just like over in the Marvel verse with the time variance authority with the Deadpool and the Wolverine Oz story from the movie. It's all about time. It's all about time manipulation. It's all about thought manipulation. It's all about controlling the narrative by which humans operate their lives. And it puts you into these grooves. And these comics, this one in particular is pretty on the nose at pointing to itself as an interactive device with the mind of the reader, suggesting from the very get-go, like, you reading this comic has an actual effect on the cosmic environment around you. It's like speaking to the reader like this, right? And the idea is that there are 52 different Earths, and it starts off with Earth 23 with this black Superman. Of note, Lisa, do you see the shape of the S on his chest?
Oh, is it the one with more of a Z?
With the Kingdom Come. Yeah, it's the same with the Kingdom Come.
It's more of a Z or backward Z,
right?
Than an S. Yeah.
Which was actually the tie-in to today. Mm-hmm. Trump was running for president for the first time when this thing came out. The tie-in to today is, remember, he tweeted that back in July when the Superman movie was in theaters, and he tweeted himself with his face on it.
Yes.
And then we also then saw that same movie poster.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did he have the Kingdom Come S or the regular?
The Kingdom Come S was on the movie, was the one they used for the movie this
So that's
summer.
The one that he used.
And that's the one he used in his tweet. And it's also the same one that the presumed shooter of Charlie Kirk was standing in front of at the Chick-fil-A down the street that he was at, or whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't a Chick-fil-A, but whatever friggin' restaurant, Burger King, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
It was that he was standing in front of the movie poster for that very same week.
I don't know that. Okay.
So it's all tied together in this way, right? We have to remember in the Kingdom Come comic, which we haven't done deep dissertation on this channel yet, in that narrative, in that alternative reality, Kansas, the same Kansas where Dorothy is from in The Wizard of Oz, Kansas is nuked, and the aftermath creates this inflection point with these two new enemies, Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog are two biblical references to the Jewish apocalypse. In the Jewish sorcery of what the end times would reveal themselves to be. Okay. So we needn't get into that again too deeply.
Right.
But Kansas, Oz, do you see how all these are interconnected? And here we have that connection just with the steganography of it from the get-go. But the idea is that there's this alternative presence called the gentry that is this seed of mind control that's weaving itself through the multiverse, all of these other worlds. There are 52 Earths in this comic. 52 is an interesting number. It's a megalithic number. So it's the number of weeks in a year, for one. So when you have your time component, and regardless of which calendar you go off of, whether it's the 12-month or the 13-month, to actually track the 28 days of the moon cycle, or 13 months should be. Whether that's the case or not, it's still 52 weeks. 52 weeks is always your constant when you're measuring that. It's also related to the 5x5 because it's the inverse of 25, which is 5 times 5 in the V-Steg way of it. But more importantly, V-Steg, V5 is the number of man, our senses, our limbs. This is why I think the aim of the sorcerers that encode V specifically think it works better because it's like the number of man. It's literally our sensory perception, and our environment is dictated by 5 digits on our finger, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But 52 is the same numerology as 5.2, which is your average length of a pace, which is a right step and a left step. Right step, left step. Your average pace for a human, that's their average gait, you can say, is 5.2 feet.
It's also my height.
It's also your height. There you go. But it's a megalithic number. 5.2 feet's a megalithic number. You can find actually in megalithic pyramid construction, all that stuff. Anyway,
cool.
This comic, having 52 Earths in it, 52 cards in a playing deck, which is derived from tarot, which is the signifier of the symbolic human experience. That's kind of what they're getting at with this multiverse concept, is that they can control and guide your mind with the V-Steg into one aspect of the human experience, where there are all of these other ones where you could be flourishing and all that stuff. So there's this thought control thing that is taking the idea is that this evil egg is the gentry, and it hatches, and it's this evil thought contagion that takes over the dictating aspects of the universe and makes all of the participants in all of the versions of the 52 Earths under its spell, presumably, right? By way of frequency and all this stuff. Josh says, y'all need to get Jenny in here for one of these. Yeah, probably.
That would be fun. I told her, she just did a show with Uncle Cliff. I was in the live chat. I think she recorded it and then did a premiere, but she had a live chat thing. And they started talking about the time and the 4D, 5D, the portals, the whatever. And I was like, Jenny, remember when we were in Canada and I was telling you about, because, I.M. had introduced me to the Malaysian plane that disappeared, and the plasma balls around it, and the Just Ask Ashton, Ashton Forbes on X, and his research into that. And I was like, oh, we could jump to the 5D, because I believe that one with my homeschooling, self-education as I'm educating my son, but we were going through in our math map 0D, 1D, 2D, 3D, and 3D is, you know, height, length, width, whatever depth. And then, but then 4D is adding time. And so then we connected that all to Saturn, the black box, the Belgians that pray and wrap things around their head and have little black boxes on their head and whatever. And all of those things. And so it's interesting to hear them. And there's been several people, Lieutenant Colonel Richard, is it Bitosi? I can't remember how his last name is pronounced. Anyway, I apologize. He was talking about how important it's going to be for us to come through this, and for us to understand that being good is more important than being rich. You know, that the wealth
or
is what,
even just being resonant with yourself or your purpose. It was probably a better interpretation, I would say, than good. Sorry to say, for his sake. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's more guidance that we can offer people, because I think that's one of the things that gets lost in the fray, is the simplifying nature of, like, what is good, what is evil. And that's really
a great point, because Reggie was talking to me about that one day. I said something about, you know, could your patents, with it being peer-to-peer transfer, is that a way? Get rid of the middlemen, get rid of the evil, get rid of the human trafficking that way, more transparency, and people advocating on behalf of themselves, you know, create that free market. And I said, you know, then something, I don't know, I made some Pollyanna statement about, you know, the world would be safer at peace or good. And he's like, well, what's peace or good? You know, if I'm a lion and I need to feed my family, then if you're a hyena, it may not be good for you. You know, it's perspective.
I had to go kill a bunch of black widows on the patio because I didn't want my dog to get bit. But I don't like killing things, even black widows. I don't prefer it. But I had to do what I had to do. I gotta go smash those buggers.
So
with a shovel.
Really a perspective. The world will never be all good or healed from evil. You know, I guess Martin Luther King.
There's even a line to kind of divert from the whole cut and dry evil and good aspect of it from the show of Yellowstone. I don't know what season it was. Kevin Costner's character was not proselytizing. He was being a little bit commanding with his advice.
Okay.
To his love interest that was burgeoning, this activist type. She was like a PETA, like save the whales, and you know, everything is simple. We can't let the corporations win, kind of a thing. And you know, we've all seen these people, and I understand sort of their plight. They just don't think through it very well. And that was the point of Kevin Costner's character to her. I think the character's name's Amber, Autumn. I don't know. I forget. Something like some shit like that.
Yeah.
And so he was just telling her how stupid it was that her whole life revolves around this cause, because she's never going to eliminate all of it. Do you think that even even to preserve the land for doing things, what was his point, for like building a shopping mall? It's like, it's all of the ecosystem damage that's done of all of the moles, all the voles, all the snakes, all the bugs, all the fucking shit that's killed every time, like her culture intercedes on any of this stuff. And yet that's what she's fighting for and defending. And it's just kind of taking advantage of your own circumstance in a different way. So we're all the same. You know, it's not worth fighting the magnitude of it, because it's like Reggie's point, magnitude is nothing. It's all relative to who's experiencing and perceiving.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, that's all I mean. I'm not trying to be too overly critical of this guy. He's not even here to defend himself. You're just rehashing his ideas, but I would probably just add that kind of addendum to it, really.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So,
but
I'm sorry, I took us a little off target here. Can you
where was it? So anyway,
I'm sorry.
Multiversity, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot for you to compartmentalize. Again, you probably just haven't watched enough of my stuff to get the foundation of this, but there's a reason why the V pops up. It's a sigil to lock in these ideas of mind control. So chapter 2, after it's established that the book itself that you're reading has power, it has inherent power to affect your mind by reading this tome, and the gentry could by the end of this infect your mind. What are you thinking? Don't read this book, reader. And it's like all this self-referential, like crossing the boundary to the reader wall, which is almost on the nose,
making them part of the story, though, right?
But also opening your eyes to what really narratives are. Hopefully, why is the V-Steg so friggin' apparent in all of what they're doing? So here's the opening scene to chapter 2. Do you see on the little truck down there in the street? Do you see how it says V radio?
Yep.
And you also see the black tower beyond. Big black tower in the skyline.
Yeah.
The streets are 53rd and 5th Avenue here. I went to the internet. You guys can verify this if you want. I'm not even going to have Lisa waste the time to do this, but this is one of the alternative realities. And it's like a 1950s style thing. And this is where Dr. Fate lives. And this is one of those alternative Earths. It essentially give you one more look at the street there. When you look at the street and you put that same view to 53rd and 5th Avenue in our Google Earth map, and you look up, what was it, 4 blocks away? It's Trump Tower. This black tower sits where Trump Tower sits in our reality. So what is that telling you right away? Also, because he's always been one of these figures in the V-Steg. But it's like a 1950s complete facsimile world with this guy with the blue thing on his head and the hydrogen atom on his forehead. Another DC property, The Watchmen. It's just another world where they've rehearsed the characters. They're basically just facsimiles of The Watchmen, which is about time. It's all about time manipulation. Time. The number 8, which signifies time, and time itself, alongside the V-Steg, the 5, and the 22, because it's the 22nd letter in the alphabet. These are your markers on all this stuff, guys. So the stories all progress through this. And what the nature of this book does is it shows you kind of views into the psyche of how somebody that's affected already by the mind control might go mad inside of a comic. And they're taking you through all these different periods of time. One of the periods of time, also they're always bending reality in some sort of a way in each one of these realities other than the one that's self-referenced. So here's what I mean by that.
Even that first page where you showed the black tower, the alternate page had the reverse image.
Yeah. They're doing a lot of this mirroring of alternate realities. What's the real thing in this?
And subconsciously, because they're not drawing attention to that in the story, but you're seeing.
So here's some other interesting markers, just because I can't go through them all for the audience. And I'm talking to you here too, so I want to entice you. But here's the little map of that multiverse. Oh my God, look, it's the negative zone where spirit entities live, and in the middle of the nucleus, or where all of the multiverses are bumping up against each other. Remember, this is also
to that 8 the guy that we talked about last time, the 8 planet or 8 universe. What was it?
Oh, Rudolf Steiner and the Eighth Sphere.
The 8th sphere. Yeah, that image looks similar to that because of the way that it's
right
in the 8th sphere. It's all one.
Well, and even more so, it's kind of the representation, if you will, of what the materialists, the gritologists, as Cliff calls them, how they envision reality might work, because they can, if they put enough of this symbolism stuff into it, they can affect whole timelines. They're not actually wrong. This weak magic effect has some sort of lock-in effect on blocking our manifestation ability, let's call it, right? And that's all I'm pointing at right here is the V-Steg's presence in the culture shows me the lock-in effect of those memes that are associated with it to dumb down that very manifestation ability, because you're caught in the body, in the fear, in
the material.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the lambda was always the inverse. The V was, it's as above, so below. There are whole lessons that I've dedicated to this on my channel that I can't go into right here if we want to summarize the characters of this particular little Oz tale. But here's the little guidebook that they provided too in the middle. Oh,
if
yeah.
anybody wants to go check out on Rumble, the Cipher community, that is where you'll find a lot of these other lessons and videos that he's
presentations. My work's broken up into 2 parts. My thesis part, which was years ago, where I discovered that this was happening, and I theorized what would start occurring in the popular culture as markers of my hypothesis, if it were correct. And so I dedicated years to finding that stuff as it started showing up in the culture and proved the existence of this framework. I don't post actively with those presentations now because there's more to do with it than just proving over and over again that it exists. That's kind of why we do these shows anyway, but just so we can stretch the muscles and show that we're constantly finding things, even that were 10 years old at this point, like this story, and how it's relevant to today. So here's what's happening with this guidebook. You see Earth 0, Earth 1. You see, oh, wow, those superheroes that are kind of like Batman and Superman, but not quite. And then you start getting into this one. Earth 4 was the one that I was showing you just now, which kind of was a facsimile of the Watchmen. I'll get back to that in a second, because that's where your Yellow Jacket reference comes in.
Okay.
It's with Earth 4. Yeah. But on and on and on it goes, and it categorizes all these different universes that the DC writers, the comic book writers at DC, have ever written into some of these stories, including Earth 8. Earth 8 was where the story started, this story, and look, it's got these stars around it, just like the DC logo has.
Mm-hmm.
And Earth 8 is where the idea of the gentry, the contagion of the mind, was inserted into this story, the time ritual, the phasing of time, 8. And it goes on to Earth 10, which is a world where Hitler's Germany persisted.
I was going to say it looks military, yeah.
And so Superman is actually they're all agents of Nazi Germany, and they're called the Reichsmen, and that's another one of the stories that's in this novel. And one of them that you can probably appreciate, this one, Earth 17, kind of wacky looking.
Wow.
And you see the Batman, this mecha Batman thing, where they're on their quest for they all talk like they're on their quest for the Grail or something, like they're Templars. But I'll just read this to you. Night is 17, right?
Okay.
This is the world where Captain Adam Strange leads his atomic Knights of Justice on a desperate last chance quest to preserve the remnants of humanity 50 years after a nuclear war in 1963. 1963 and the number 17 being associated with each other, Yeah. So you got Kennedy's assassination. It's a nuclear war, not Kennedy's assassination. But I'll continue. Facing monstrous mutations, mad science, and human heartbreak on the way to rebuilding the ruined world of 21st century Nova America, they seek the cosmic grail. You see what I mean? It's this whole like King Arthur's quest. The only weapon that will defend against the coming threat of Darkseid, the Destroyer. So, the Pizzagate thing, Trump Tower. You've got the whole Trump presidency about to unfold in 2016. You also have in here this Earth 26, where this White Rabbit character comes into it really early on. So you have following the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. We can all associate with Q now at this point, and all this stuff that's also tied to these kinds of memes since this thing came out. And here you have Earth 33. And this is, before I go back and show you the Yellow Jacket component, this is Earth 33. This is us.
Is that just heads?
Yeah, because it's just humans.
Did you see the thing that they shared? I just saw it today, but they're sharing new pictures, new photos out of Epstein Island and dental chairs.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And the faces on the wall, the heads on the wall.
I didn't see that much. I just saw some really brief clips. I haven't actually sat down, taken a look at what was dropped.
Yeah. But, no, it's really weird. And when you pulled that up, that's kind of what the room looked like. Like there was a chair in the middle, and then there were heads or faces on the wall that were
interesting. Well, I'll give everybody a look at it again. I don't know if it's totally related to that or not. It's meant to just show normie humans. Because Earth 33 is us, and this is Ultraman. And Ultraman is the manifestation of all of our collective creative ability to be put into something potential. But we are all latent. We don't have superpowers. For some reason, on Earth Prime, as they call it, us, the central point, the focal point, Earth 33,
that's also the
Disney. It's a mysterious world without superpowers and superheroes, where the people exert powerful and unknown influence on the progress and development of the entire multiverse. Almost like our thoughts are subdued. It's a clue. I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
You've got all these other possibilities at play with all these other 52 Earths, let's say, the other 52 cards in the tarot, the other 51 cards in the tarot deck, if you put it that way, the playing cards anyway. Take out the major arcana because that's not including them. But all of a sudden,
it's very interesting because the Disney Club 33, there's rumors that about who Disney actually is, the man.
It's a Masonic number. 33 is another one of the Masonic numbers.
Where he came from, yeah.
It's the spinal number. It's how many vertebrae are on your spine. It's the whole Kundalini system incarnate within our kind of vagus nerve system. It's like it's your antenna.
Yeah.
If you can control the vagus nerve, which is essentially what we're talking about, the V is my argument is the V-Steg is some sort of apparatus, some sort of glyph that locks minds into patterns by which their vagus nerve is vibrating. Like we talked about a couple of shows ago about the cymatics of it all. Locks you into a certain vibe where you don't create, where you don't manifest, where you're not in touch with the physiological form anymore either, because the psychological form has cast you into the mind control of the fear department or the doubt department or the whatever lower vibration department is. Mm-hmm. They even put this here in the book. This is Father Time, pride, envy, greed, selfishness, all the things that keep you from manifesting your superpowers, becoming your own superhero, right? If we're in Earth 33, and we have all of these things that are keeping us down, time itself keeps us down. The measurement and the slow march of time, the moon artificially probably making females gestate their eggs once a month, that slow grind of time, right? If I'm right, this is all just the glyph exercise to lock our minds into, remember, like my piece of art back here, Saturn being the mind control device that uses the moon as an attenuator, and we are in the eighth sphere with this mechanical apparatus component.
Is the mechanism that traps people. Yeah.
I thought you might want to see this one too. Does this
Thunderworld? And the Captain
here,
Marvel Ethereum.
That looks like Ethereum. It's exactly like the Ethereum logo. This ends up being the spaceship that Dr. SaVant, you'll find, is this nefarious little bald guy who brings in all of the other Dr. SaVantas from all the other universes to collaborate from that Ethereum spaceship, which also kind of looks like, the Black Knight satellite, I guess you could say, that people have talked about that orbits the Earth. And from there tries to collect all of the timing variants, kind of like the Time Variance Authority from the Marvel comics, again, to control the minds of the people across multiverses. Take from that symbolism what you will. I don't want to get too far into that. I wanted to show you, I did want to show you the aspect of the Yellow Jacket, though. Mm-hmm. So refrain to people the Yellow Jacket finding that you had in the first place, because I didn't have any association with Yellow Jacket until one of our chats over the course of like the end of the summer, near the end dates of those Intrepid and Wolverine rituals that we were watching unfold.
Yeah, and the Wolverine thing has carried forward in, if you notice, Pete Hegseth has chops, like the long beard thing.
Yeah.
And he's the head military guy. Military guys they don't wear their hair like that. So for him to then grow out chops while he is the head of the Department of War is a little werewolf leaning to me, but I digress. So the Yellow Jacket thing, I just kept seeing, and my gut was telling me, Westwood says, trust yourself. Yep. That there was a there. Several weather people were posting strange either stories or mentioning the wasps. The yellow jackets, and he kept saying yellow jackets. And so then I saw something else. I don't know, something. And I looked into it, and the military has a group called Yellow Jackets, like a team, kind of like SEALs or whatever.
Right.
And their specialty is to work with electronics and electric weaponization or weaponization of electricity, whatever. And tonight is the full moon. But earlier today on WBRT, we were getting ready to sign off. And I am brought up that right now and I have a picture. There are the largest solar spots or sunspots. I know I saved that picture. Where is it? Here it is. Let me see if I can share this with you guys real quick. That similar to the same size as when the Carrington event happened. So I'll just show you really quick.
Sunspot groupings, you mean?
Yes, getting ready for big solar storms. And, we saw the previous solar storms where they, caused the, the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis to be able to be seen all the way down to like Texas and something. These are way, way bigger. So you can see the size, and they have them kind of marked. But this darker area is the size, or what kicked off the Carrington event. And then these are what we're currently looking at, which is very similar in size, which I thought was really interesting. Then last night or yesterday, Trump was talking with the FAA, or I saw a video for it. I don't know what day it actually happened, but they mentioned about all of the wiring and communication being changed because it's been copper for all these years. And Trump was saying, like, it won't really work. And so they've already replaced almost all, like more than 2/3 of it, into fiber. Well, if that I think the FAA has a whole nother issue, but we don't have to get into that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But they may be controlling more than we realize, more than just planes is what my point is. But them being switched over to fiber from copper would prevent something like the Carrington event taking them out, or that communication out. Because when the Carrington event happened, it basically burned up every electricity wire there was. And so I wondered if, they know this is coming and they are already ahead of it in that game. So I wondered if that's what part of the Yellow Jacket team is about and doing, and part of that electricity.
All right, well, let's decode this together then, okay? Here's the premise of this little vignette part of the story, because again, these were all just little chopped up vignettes that all came together in the end with our Earth, by the way, Earth 33, spoiler alert for how this all concludes in this comic. Our narrative ability and our ability to craft words into ideas and manifest them from our Earth was our real power. Okay. That's what overcomes all of this in the first place. All this multiversal shit. That's how this all resolves at the end of this comic, is that on Earth 33, the pen is mightier than the sword, kind of a thing. Your ability to create your circumstance, and also shows, actually living inside these little comic books. That's what's actually chiding the reader. What are you doing wasting your time reading comic books when you can actually go out and do something? It actually says that directly to the reader, kind of in no uncertain language, a couple of times throughout the course of this. Pretty funny. But in one of these vignettes, here's how it starts. Pax Americana, and you see the presidential seal, a Kennedy-like assassination in the back of a car, and a number 8 on the ring. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Now, remember I told you this story was a facsimile of Watchmen.
Well, Pax means war, right? In Latin. Pax Americana. I believe Pax is war in Latin.
And similar to how Watchmen opens, do you see how it's the blood? It's a very similar opening sequence of the blood that zooms out from the closest detail to the furthest detail. It's a very, very similar conceit. You can see they're even copying the plot device mechanisms for Watchmen in this, in that they start at the closest detail and then zoom out, right?
Oh, Pax Americana. I'm sorry, I have it totally backwards. Is peace, not war.
Right.
So it's peace.
So a little bit graphic, but it's zooming out. It's going back in time. It's showing it's reversing time through this to show, I see. The president got shot from above. Mm-hmm. And over on the left, here's where your piece comes in. This is a character called the Peacemaker. And he's jumping from a weather balloon, and he basically, on his way down from orbit, shoots and kills the president. The Peacemaker. The Peacemaker is a character you can actually find on HBO. It's a show where the character is played by John Cena, WWE star, kayfabe expert John Cena. That's the Peacemaker. Same character. But the idea is he's now put on trial. He's put on trial because he killed the president. And it goes all the way back into this whole tale. Again, here's Rorschach, another character that's just like the character from The Watchmen. They don't call him the same thing in this, but again, it's this. They have this whole Watchmen vibe. Watchmen, time, 8, Oz, this is all, this is all connected to, again, keeping your mind grooved in a certain way. Goes all the way through this to where they get to this character who's just like Dr. Manhattan in this. This is the guy that has the hydrogen atom on his head. Oh, okay. And just like Dr. Manhattan can bend reality. Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen was the product of the Manhattan Project. That's what in the comic book series they were really working on. So you can even envision like, oh, the Calutron motors created Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. But his basic superpower is that he can bend reality into any form he wants. He can deconstruct it. He can pause and rewind time and whatever, right? What he's doing is he's reading the comic book that you're reading.
Oh my gosh.
You see what I'm saying? Like there's this whole thing in this multiversity that makes the reader participate as if they're in this exercise that they don't have any control of, but they're compelled to keep going because they need to see what the narrative has to unfold. Well, they get to the point where they actually have the president, and they're going back in time to have the president unveil this secret project with the Dr. Manhattan guy, where he raises these towers out of the ground. And these towers are supposed to be these sigils of the future. They're raising up from where the Twin Towers fell. So in this narrative, where the Watchmen, remember how 9/11 was a time ritual in and of itself? Mm-hmm. Well, in this narrative, they haven't done anything with the space. They haven't built the Liberty Towers. Instead, they're having Dr. Manhattan come in and raise these monument towers up in the footprint of where the Twin Towers collapsed. So there's this whole thing that they get into. He's talking to the president in the garden about this whole substructure hidden out of plain sight from the human psyche and how reality inserts itself into our minds by way of the very comic that you're reading. And if you keep reading this, it will basically have this lock-in effect, and reality can go any which way the writer deems it to go, kind of thing, right? Is kind of what they're getting at. And so the peacemaker in this, he's fighting against that kind of end, that kind of narrative, to the point where he wants to reobtain the principles that America really should stand for in the freedom aspects of it, blah, blah, blah. And you even see that the president style guy that he assassinated kind of looks like George W. Bush.
I was going to say, yeah.
Remember, this was the mid 2010s when this thing was written. But ultimately, at the end, they find this guy here, who is the ultimate terrorist that they think that they've caught, that's doing all of the mind control tactics on who was it on the populace of the how they're getting the president himself to kind of fall in line with whatever they're pushing here. And he ends up being the terrorist guy, ends up being this scene here. He ends up going through this scene. It's like a defragmentation or a refracturing of his mind through the rest of his life. And you can see he's been going to this gravestone for some time. And this gravestone says Vince Harley, 1936 to 1974. Visionary. Vince, visionary. You got V-Steg on the very tombstone here.
There was a Harley label earlier in the magazine, earlier in the comic, when you were just starting to show the president or something. It said Harley all behind him.
That's it, because Harley, he was actually the president in his mind at the end of this. So here's the thing. Okay. That same character, Vince Harley, the guy that was going to the grave, the guy that the peacemaker shot at the beginning, the president, it finally kind of goes in reverse. Remember, that's how the story was told, in reverse, back to the beginning. And it shows his fractured mind before he set his mind to becoming the president, to changing his own reality. Remember the Dr. Manhattan guy, he's kind of like a symbol for anyone taking their own circumstances, restructuring the atomic nature around them, and making and manifesting their own reality. He found out how to do that, became president. Peacemaker still killed him at the beginning for some reason. Has something to do with the 8 on his hand, controlling time.
Okay.
But at the very beginning, here's the point. The same boy that they were talking about broke into his dad's office. His dad was a comic book writer. Breaks into his dad's comic book writing table, and then somebody breaks into the window and it spooks him. So he picks up the gun off of his dad's desk and shoots him. That's this character over here. This character is the Yellow Jacket. It's just a little cameo appearance as part of the whole novella here. But the Yellow Jacket, when you look into the DC lore, is tagged as America's first superhero. It's the very first superhero of America.
Really?
And there's the boy leaning over the dad's death. So it's this whole arc, this whole kind of like time-centric theme underlaying this whole Oz narrative. It's definitely this multiversity thing is definitely an Oz mind control shifty kind of story to illustrate what's going on behind the scenes and what the V-Steg lofts up into your mind ahead of the better higher vibing thoughts. But it's just one of these things, guys, that it's popping up now today in ways that we wouldn't have anticipated had we not been paying attention to the reappearance of the S over the course of this summer. Is one of the things to look into.
From S, not just the traditional S. Yeah.
So we're meant to maybe look back at these things and interpret what these things have to say as they apply to the unfolding of the events in front of us. Is how I've always seen this. And there's always been these little weird parallels. When you actually look into the codification of the pages of these things, comics are so rich with this symbolism that it just makes your head spin, Yeah. I mean, and people in the Road to Ruta community had followed Bix for all that time. They even know at that level what it presumes,
Yeah, those Fed comic books are pretty incredible to read through. And to get Bix's perspective on them, go to his website, roadtoruta.com, and you can get more information on that. But it's very interesting.
But there's your Yellow Jacket inclusion. What do you think about it? That's your. I did my very best Cliff Notes.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. I don't know about him shooting it, but then it being a superhero, because I guess it's in different worlds. It has different purpose.
Well, think about this. His dad was. It's this weird mind-bending story. This whole thing. You're self-referentially reading a comic book, and the story itself knows that you're reading it.
Yeah.
The Yellow Jacket was a comic book writer and the world's first superhero. You probably have to understand what's at the heart of this story first with Watchmen, again, to see how the psychological aspect of like superhero, the aspect of superhero was forgotten, but then coming back to life to fight another day. It's kind of like a resurrection story. Like the Watchmen, they're like washed up. They're has-beens. They used to have this quality to come in and save the day. And there's this whole enemy of time, the enemy of time itself component that shows itself up in this story. That if you knew all of that and applied it, because it's all right there with the character facsimiles, that you see that time, again, as it's always apparent, time is pitted as the enemy in the Oz story. Because time is an illusion too. The stuff of time, the progression of it, the unending like life and death cycle that you're a victim to instead of having the creative potential for. if you see that, again, that's why the number 8 comes up in all of these weird V-Steg stories too, as another locking in marker where there's mind control present, and it has to do with this time locking effect or time illusion effect.
Yeah. Okay. Remember last time we met, Melania had gone to, I think it was the Saudi Arabian prince that came, and they'd had the big dinner, and she was wearing this beautiful green dress, and they described it in the FLOTUS report as wormwood.
Yes.
Well, no, I'm sorry. What's the other word for wormwood?
Wormwood's a star.
Right, but it's also that drink.
A drink. Oh, I don't know.
The green nymph drink that makes you hallucinate or whatever.
Absinthe.
Absinthe green is how they described her dress, and which sent me down this rabbit hole of wormwood, because that's what it's made from, or something like that. It has a connection with wormwood, absinthe, and Westwood and I talked about it a little bit last week on Friday, but then I looked in the Bible to see if wormwood was ever mentioned, and it's actually in Revelation. It says 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. And it goes down. The first angel sounded the trumpet. There came hail and fire mixed with blood. It was hurled down on the earth. 1/3 of the earth was burned up. 1/3 of the trees were burned up. And all the green grass was burned up. We just had a bunch of that. The second angel sounded its trumpet, and something like a huge mountain all ablaze was thrown into the sea, which I don't know if we've seen a volcano recently thrown into the sea.
Remember not to interpret this stuff too literally, because Revelation, just like the symbolism, we got to interpret like what's the underpinning of what's being said versus the actual effects that we're actually looking for. Yeah.
Right. But there have been some volcanoes coming out of the ocean even. Anyway, just interesting, open-minded, maybe. Then they say 1/3 of the living creatures in the sea died, 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. Then it goes down and says the 3rd angel sounded its trumpet, and a great star blazing like a torch.
Yeah, this one's wormwood, I think. Yeah, there it is. It's wormwood right there.
On 1/3 of the rivers and the springs of water. The name of the star is wormwood.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1/3 of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the water that had become bitter. Then it goes on to talk about the 4th angel sounded its trumpet, and 1/3 of the sun was struck. Which maybe that's that Carrington. I don't know. Once again, we don't have to be literal, but just maybe. What if? 1/3 of the moon and 1/3 of the stars, and 1/3 of them turned dark. 1/3 of the day was without light, and also 1/3 of the night. So it's talking about like time changing, to me, when it's talking about taking away the light on the 1/3 of
what it could mean is that the day could be 1/3 of the length. It's, the moon. That's what I mean with some of this stuff. It's like, I'm not the deepest student of Revelation itself.
No, me either.
But when I have looked into it with various overlapping aspects to the V-Steg work, it's usually encoded with a lot of stuff that is like a casting template. It can be interpreted a lot of different ways, but the casting template remains. Like if you're the sorcerer that wants to use the meme that is Revelation, and you want to draw upon that and incite some sort of emotion to your subject that you're casting the spell on, well, you already have a text that has grounded meaning in drawers of every motel room. It's the most ubiquitously printed text, right? Mm-hmm. So you now have the latent power of the text that you can draw from to interpret that loosely, or a hardline approach, or literally, to kind of take the unsuspecting mind to say, this is the word, this is the way it is, and you can twist it. And that's always what's always about Revelation specifically, because it is so symbol intent.
Yeah.
That what is the end of the world really? You've got all the stuff in Revelation, I think it's 13, that talks about the Antichrist and it as an entity. And people have the argument right now about, is AI going to turn into a super intelligent being and rule us all? And you can use Revelation to amplify that meme.
Sure.
You can use the texts that are in there to cherry pick and say, you see, AI is the devil entirely incarnate, because look at what Revelation says in 13 about the mark of the beast and all this shit. It's and it's going to trick you into thinking that it's God and you will worship it as God. And these are these discussions we've had for so long about AI can't become conscious. It will never have consciousness shoved into it. It's a weighted index tool, lookup assistant. And the super intelligent being thing is fear mongering. There's probably a lot of VSTEG that goes into that. Oddly enough, this is a weird thing that happened too, Lisa. I'll have you pull this thing up. You see this?
Where are you posting it?
Posted it to the chat.
To the chat, okay.
Yeah.
Why won't it let me see private chat? There it is. Okay. Hold on, gotta get past the.
Oops.
Okay, hold on one sec.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you want me to go to on this? It's an hour long.
No, I just want you to pull it up and start playing it. Do you see the artifact in his backdrop there?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I need you to see. Hit pause. This is a show called The Volume with Colin Cowherd.
Okay.
It's a sports talk show. Why
is he talking about aliens?
I actually referenced this the other day too. I was like, what the hell's going on here? He's just referencing anything and everything with
aliens.
Age of Disclosure and all that stuff. But do you remember the Age of Disclosure documentary that we talked about that I was warning people like through, I don't know, 4 weeks back.
Yeah.
When it was coming out, because of what I was seeing with the VSTEG itself. Like, here, let me see if I can pull
Let me find it really quick. Because the imagery in it is so VSTEG.
Yeah, it's got a big lambda. It's got a big fucking lambda over the top of the
Here we go.
Capitol building with a big UFO over it.
There you go.
There you go. The lambda is the little spotlight.
And every human is a lambda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has a lambda shadow.
The shadow.
The red shadow.
Yep. As if their minds are being directed by the wavelengths itself. So my warning to everybody was that Lou Elizondo was involved in this, and I had no idea who the documentarian was. He was probably hand selected to do this. He ended up going straight onto the Joe Rogan Experience right when the documentary launched, and Joe, all the ever conspiracy theorist, has him on, and Cliff actually has been sharing a lot of the guy's circuit that he's been going around. But this is how things pop up in the popular media. This guy, what is his name? Go back to the podcast itself.
Cowherd guy?
Yeah, not Cowherd, but the guest that he had on was the guy who directed this movie.
Colin, Dan Farah.
Okay.
That's what it says in the.
So he's the one that directed this. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Dan Farah. There's Dan Farah, his typical black t-shirt he's been wearing around on the interview circuit. But why why, I want to know, is he going on Colin Cowherd's The Volume with, V very prominently, always in the backdrop of Colin's podcast. But this is a sports podcast, Lisa. What the fuck?
That makes no sense.
You see what I mean? Like the V-Steg is right there, both with the guy he's interviewing and with the podcast that he's being hosted on to have this conversation itself. There's subversion happening. The V locks your mind into the subconscious of it. And there are ideas that are keeping your mind at bay from creating what it needs to, its full potential to manifest, as it were. And I'm pointing this out to people as I see this shit every day. I can't unsee it because, this has been my life ever since I found this decoding mechanism for reality, because anything that media touches seems to have this tinge of control to it. And V is the sigil of V is at the heart of it.
Well, and do you see what their own self-put commercial? Oh, I just found it. And there.
Zin. Yeah.
Z.
Yeah.
The Z-Steg. They go hand in hand. And of course it's all there,
It's something to point to people how it shows up. It sneaks right in and underneath your subconscious, and the narrative becomes part of that locked in as below effect. And you're not even really operating with the as above principles, because those are hijacked too. They're given to you by the proselytizers like Dan Farah here, who was given a script to make a documentary on. And now he's the talking head that goes around and says how much Louis Ondo is the expert and blah, blah, blah. It's all a ruse. They're trying to control the disclosure narrative by way of this, and it's all a ruse. So I just want people to see that, and careful of everything as it relates to perception in the world. Like I hope the message that you get out of all this stuff, you can't help but interface with media, but if you see the ways in which it's preventing your outward manifestation, that's another part of this whole thing that I think Cliff's been talking a lot about lately, with giving everybody the mechanisms to actually do the positive reinforcement part of it in the first place.
Yeah,
but how do you eliminate the noise? Well, you got to know, you got to be able to recognize what the noise looks like when it shows up.
And he said that with his interview with Jenny, he said that part of it is, at least I think this was him saying, I hope I'm not misquoting, but that they will start having to, it will be the same people that have been telling you the lies and changing the narrative, whether it's big pharma, mainstream media, whatever, they will be the ones that then out themselves to get more people to wake up. They'll be the ones that are stating like, oh, well, we lied to you earlier, or they'll state the new narrative, that undoes their old narrative. They will be the undoing of themselves, I guess, was what I understood. So, but that's the only way that people could hear it or believe it, I guess.
Or wake up to it like I did. The jury's still out with me whether or not the writers are trying to put this stuff into the comics to wake you up or to reinforce the spell. The motive is what's always been weird to me. I could never really prove what the fuck the motive was. You can see that it's illustrating, but that it's illustrative of the mind control, but
I didn't see balloons go by me, but I was I can't always see what's happening on the screen. So I'm curious now about something that we were saying.
Well, anyway, that's another adventure into the fragmented reality that is our existence, as influenced by the pages of comic books and other media, because of the spell casting latent underneath all of it. The madness of it all.
It's wild to watch, but to pull back the curtain a little bit. And I hope that all is as fun for you guys as it is for me, to have these talks and kind of see where we're seeing it being placed in front of us, but then also use that as a tool and know when, when there's a there.
It's the only reason to use it, really. It's the only reason why I labored over this in the first place, because it mattered. If my hypothesis turned into a theory about how the mind control worked at that level of glyphs and symbolism was true, then the implications of it were much more dire than I could fathom. And I've come to find that is not only the case from what I originally anticipated, but it's much even darker than that when you look into it. Because like I've told people, if Saturn really is a mind control device in and of itself, what does that bode for our battle against that? If it's a frequency generation device,
Think about a radio. I mean, you have to change the channel or break the antenna.
Remove the moon is what I say.
Maybe.
If you remove the moon, get rid of the Death Star, what happens?
Well, what did it just say in the Bible? If you're changing that much of the moon and the sun, the light,
I think it was a riddle. It was a riddle of sorts in that section. It was like a third of the moon, a third of the sun, a third of
a third of the light. And they said the light even at night. So did that mean take out stars as well? I don't know. I don't want to get too much into that.
Well, you're going too much into the literal interpretation of it. Remember,
I'm already going there. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate
is metaphor and allegory.
There we go. Well, thanks for joining us, you guys. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Please give us your thoughts afterwards. Leave a comment, a question, and we'll go back and look at some of those when we meet next week. So I may have Johnny on later tonight. We're still planning that out. It may be this weekend or later. We'll see. But thanks again, Ben, for everything. Appreciate it.
See you later, guys.